Good afternoon. I don't think I can match my three speakers here, but we will try as the last speaker. All right, my slides up. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Sanbonani. My name is Kalvanya Padayachee, and I really just want to start by giving a background of myself. My great-grandparents came from South Africa as indentured laborers. I am the third generation to be born in South Africa. I was born and brought up in Durban, KZN, the youngest girl amongst three older brothers. I grew up in a very close Indian community, and I fought outside the confines of the traditional roles of being a daughter, of being a sister, of being a wife, and now of being a mother. And this is my journey of a woman in harm reduction. So as a South African Indian female living in KZN and working in a male-dominated environment, I often faced gender and cultural bias. I found it extremely difficult to find a voice and an opinion as a female. Women are not heard. Women were just seen, always in the background. And this often meant that the women that we serve, the women that use drugs, their voices were not heard. Working in an environment seen as the boys' club, the patriarchal drug culture in South Africa made me feel marginalized and unheard, not being part of this boys' club. And I found that in order to engage, I typically needed a male colleague because I could not find a space or a platform to navigate this male-dominated environment. And as a woman, I also had to navigate around being of a different culture, to the clients, to my colleagues, to stakeholders that I engaged with, and found it difficult, as I said, to be heard in the space. When there was an instance back in 2019 in implementation of harm reduction programs in KZN, and I was not heard in going into stakeholder meetings and speaking about such a controversial program. People who use drugs, sex work, people who need provisions of services in terms of needle and syringes. And I often had to take a male colleague to these stakeholder meetings, and the acceptance and the approach was different. Why is it harder for a woman to get out there into the global harm reduction space than it is for a woman? Than it is for a man, sorry. I also just want to touch base about the intimidating sector experience. And everyone wants a strong woman, right? But when she actually stands up for herself, or when she voices her opinion, she suddenly gets too much. She's forgotten her place. And putting myself out there, I've been told many of the times, do not get too emotional. Your emotions are clouding your judgment. And it was because I was too emotional and because I was too aggressive and I was too upfront that back during implementation period, I managed to secure, and I'm using this as just as a typical example, as a meeting with the Provincial Department of Health after numerous failed attempts of getting meetings with them to address the issues of the needle and syringe ban in KZN, because I let myself feel and because I let myself to speak for the voices of the voiceless. So as a woman in leadership, or as a female in leadership working in a culturally diverse environment, I found myself constantly having to prove myself. My worth, my decisions, my actions were questioned. I always felt that I had to be on top of things, proving myself, holding the space, not for myself, but holding the space for the people that you manage, holding the space for the clients that you are serving. Juggling life of a working woman, of a wife, and of a mother. And it took me some time to find my voice, and I call this unlocking my voice, right? Having worked with women who use drugs and women in general, prior to joining the harm reduction space, I understood the needs and services of women. I understood the challenges, the difficulties of navigating through a male-dominated society just to be seen and heard. Through this platform, I could advocate for the needs and rights of women. And in contrast, I realized that my opinion and my viewpoint and how I saw myself in these circumstances mattered. Because I changed my perspective from being a victim to someone who now is empowered as a female. I was the voice of the voiceless woman. What example would I have been setting as a woman for my fellow sisters that I'm here to serve? There is no cultural or gender norms that should define how we see ourselves. And as a result, oh, I thought my slides went off. It went off here. Okay, cool. And as a result, people will frequently pay attention to me because I came across as strong but nurturing. I came across as bold but caring, and having this humble approach and a sense of understanding. My fight for people who use drugs and women in harm reduction came from this passion. I took this passion forward, I transferred it over to inspiring to achieve better for women that I worked with, but also for the women who use drugs. Having found my voice and what I've accomplished in the 9 years of working in a harm reduction space, I realized that I could not have done this without the amazing, resilient, strong, compassionate women that supported me through this journey, and I want to acknowledge them today by showcasing a short video of women in harm reduction.
Tanamfunda Nhlapo, an independent consultant consulting in the opioid substitution therapy as well as harm reduction space. What working in this space has done for me is to highlight the gaps in our health system when it comes to this group of people. The amount of stigma that emanates directly from our health system, the amount of marginalization that these patients are actually faced with, and how as a health system, we in fact ourselves are robbing them of a human right of access to healthcare.
Harm reduction means having a strong sense of identity and also building up people's lives.
What does it mean to be in harm reduction? It means courageously facing what society or many people may shy away from. It means raising my head to openly love, care, and support.
Being a female in this space, I can say it can be limiting because sometimes you don't feel safe to go to certain sites or even to render services. Moreover, when intimidating stakeholders are also part of.
Lives. Harm reduction is a lifestyle, not an event.
Engaging directly with PWID has been a rewarding, impactful journey for me.
What does it mean to be a woman in the harm reduction field? It means that I am the voice for the voiceless. It means that I get to wear different hats every day. Sometimes I'm a counselor that listens to their problems and provide support. Sometimes I'm a mother. I'm just that safe space where they get to offload. Sometimes I'm a friend where they get to share their bad and good experiences. Sometimes I'm an advocate that advocates for the rights of the women who use drugs.
Thank you. So to end my discussion today, Jules, is that I just want to say I salute all the women. Thank you for your courage and your sacrifice in working in a harm reduction space. We are the hidden heroes, and we are the women in harm reduction. You strike a woman, you strike a rock.